special. I'm thrilled that I got to say hi to Senator Crowder. I think a number of other representatives and senators are in the room as well, showing the strong bipartisan commitment to keeping Colorado special. I want to thank Colorado Preservation for hosting the Saving Places Conference and for the work on preserving so many endangered places across our state. We all know the importance of a sense of place. It's what grounds us personally and spiritually and emotionally, and to make sure that our special places are there for ourselves, for our kids and grandkids, and really to preserve the very places that make Colorado what it is absolutely critical and important work. I want to thank History Colorado and the State Historical Fund as well for the generous support of this conference and the preservation efforts across the state. It really is great to see people from all over the state, all sides of the aisle represented here. You know, conservationist John Sawhill once said, "In the end, our society will be defined not only by what we create, but by what we refuse to destroy." And that in many ways encapsulates this very work of identity that is core to many of your hearts and your work. By fighting against destruction of many of our historic spaces for ongoing maintenance, you're truly helping to define our society and give us all a continuous sense of place for today and for future generations. And this collaboration has been absolutely critical to saving endangered sites all over the state, like Redstone Castle and downtown Cripple Creek and the Durango Powerhouse and Tabor Opera House in Leadville. And of course, one I get to see all the time, the Capitol Dome, Larimer Square. You know, those are just a few of the many, many areas where our state would be poorer for, if not for your work in helping to preserve for our current and future generation. You know, the recent history of Colorado has centered around the unprecedented level of growth that we've had and are likely to continue to have. And everywhere I go, I hear from residents concerned with the rising cost of living or how we can manage growth in a state while maintaining our amazing Colorado way of life. So a critical part of making Colorado work for the future is making sure that we honor the past and make it live moving forward and inform our society, our value, and our history. Whether it's a 19th century building tucked in between a bustling tech incubator and a modern skyscraper, or whether it's a historic downtown promenade in a small town on the western slope. These are the things that make Colorado, Colorado. And without your work, some of them, too many of them, would fall by the wayside. There are little treasured bits of history all over our state that recall our frontier roots and give us a window into what life was like in the earlier days of the state, whether it's from a design and architectural perspective, a social political perspective, a geographic perspective. And these senses of place really inform who we are as Coloradans and will continue to inform future generations of Coloradans. As Coloradans, we're very proud of our public lands, our landscapes, our wild outdoor areas certainly define who we are as a state as much as any buildings. And we're strongly committed to protecting our public lands and access to our public lands so that they can be enjoyed by all in this generation and future generations. In addition to our natural beauty, our historic buildings and places that define the character of the West, from Native Indian, Native American ruins in southwest Colorado, to the work of the Spanish settlers, to the work of the 19th and early 20th century that is still an iconic part of who we are. It really helps define the great and vast, broad sweeping history of our state incorporated in the built environment. To that end, the state of Colorado is an eager partner in preservation through the Colorado Main Street Program and financial incentives like the Commercial Historic Preservation Tax Credit, all beginning with grassroots work on the ground. The state partnering with local communities, with nonprofits and others to help make sure that we can retain our sense of place in the built environment. DOLA's Department of Local Affairs Main Street Program gives a customizable framework that helps make each community more vibrant in a way that the community leaders and residents buy into, that fits the character of the community, because every community is different. These strategies can help the community identify and leverage opportunities and resources that allow them to move forward with a holistic approach for the future that honors the past and present. And as I've traveled the state during my campaign for governor and now as governor, I've actually got to see the Main Street program at work in communities that I visited, like Steamboat Springs, and Lamar, and La Junta, and Brush, Buena Vista, and many others. In fact, the Colorado Main Street program is represented at this conference to highlight historic resources and efforts to preserve and save through adaptive reuse. You know, the Main Street program is a catalyst to help our communities and empower them and help give them leverage to move forward one step at a time. And I'm looking forward to continuing this work as governor. Now, we all know there's always a challenge, a natural tension between maintaining the character of neighborhoods and buildings and meeting the demands of a modern and growing state. We need to continue to work on making historic buildings more energy efficient, handicapped accessible, ensure that we're reducing emissions, that we have full accessibility. And we also need to preserve the historic character of cities, towns, and the built environment, while of course constructing enough housing and infrastructure to support a 21st century economy and our growing population. But we can't afford to empty out this spiritual basis of the built environment simply because we need a future that works for a growing population. What good is a growing population if we don't have that base of our identity in place as Coloradans and the long and colorful history that informs our values and our character? I really believe that we can do both. We can honor the past, make sure that the past is living as we contemplate a future that works in a growing state. And everyone here today is an absolutely critical partner in this regard, helping us determine areas that we should designate for preservation, making sure that we continue to make appropriate improvements, be they renewable energy or accessibility, and that we feature and can make sure that our past work and the various cultures that have made Colorado special over thousands of years help inform a future that works for everybody, that frankly distinguishes Colorado from any place USA or any place in the world. We live in a beautiful state, not just because of our mountains and our rivers and our lakes and our prairies, but also because of our historic monuments, because of our buildings, because of our structures that tell every day the living story of our state's rich history. So thank you for your hard work on maintaining the character of our state and making sure we preserve the ability of these stories to be told to the current generation and future generations. Thank you.